Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. It's The Last Word, presented by Chrisman Commentary. I'm Brian View, and one of my co-hosts, KP, is out of pocket. We're joined by Robbie Chrisman, and we may have a special guest joining us as well. We'll kind of keep that one lingering. But Robbie, man, how you doing? Happy Friday.
I wouldn't tease the special guest too much. Wait, you got like three co-hosts on this show. You got Jody, Christy, KB. They heard I was coming and they said I'm
Yeah,
out. Like, I don't. Yeah,
yeah.
happens.
It's not like there was a lot of news to talk about this week, and all of a sudden, I'm left to my lonesome. Thank you for jumping in here with me.
Yeah, happy Friday. This is good because you have taken the role of the host, but I think with just us, you're going to be forced to provide more commentary than you normally do, and I'm excited to see that side of you. So
Yeah, me
whatever
too.
questions you ask me, be prepared to answer them as well.
You got it, man. You got it. So I do see we have a guest in the studio, but he hasn't come on camera yet, so I'm not going to bring him in until he does that.
Oh, teasing the people. Yeah, I've slept a lot this week. Anything happened of note? I've just kind of been out here golfing and
This was an interesting week on the personal side for me, business personal side. I ended up having two evening events that I normally don't have when I'm working from home office, and so Tuesday night was I met up with a friend downtown, and so I wasn't around for a lot of the early evening theatrics that were happening, but definitely tuned in late into the night. And then Wednesday night was the installation dinner for the Michigan Mortgage Lenders Association's 2025 board, new president and all that. So we went up to Frankenmuth, Michigan. Not a lot of people are familiar with Frankenmuth, Michigan, but it's our own little Bavaria, if you will, or Bavaria in mid-Michigan. So we had some fried chicken and all the fixins. What about you? How was your week?
it was good. As some people here may know, I did not attend MBA annual. Was doing some stuff back at my house in California, but I got out this week. My college roommate got married in Austin, Texas over the weekend. That was good to go there.
Right
on. And from there, I went to Dallas, caught a Mavs game. Want to see Luka and Kyrie play together, which is pretty neat to see that. I think they beat the Magic by about 30 because the Magic star player had just torn his oblique. Bummer he wasn't playing, but cool to see them up close. Luka's a scoring machine. Then headed to North Carolina, where I got a cousin there who's helping out with some of the Chrisman stuff. Met with him, had some meetings there. Went down to the University of Georgia. Sorry, I know people probably don't want to.
Yeah, no, that's great. The Chronicles.
Yeah, it's only two of us. We're filling 30 minutes, baby. No, went to the University of Georgia yesterday. Checked out the stadium. Snuck into the football stadium. That was pretty cool. And then today I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee, golfing with an old coworker from SoFi.
Yeah,
Joshua Tatum, who ran business development there when I was running the lock desk and trading loans on the capital market side of things. But you know Josh from way back when you were at Hello, right?
Oh yeah. We go way back, and then I've been following his journey with Car Putty, with his startup, which is probably advanced beyond startup stage, I suppose.
Yes, I think it's still a slog, but good to catch up with him. I think one thing I get from these people that leave mortgage, it never leaves you. He's getting ready to try and make a comeback or a new foray into mortgage. So hopefully we can have him back. I like having him in the industry. But yeah, it's been a good week. And I was going to say on Tuesday, normally I'm West Coast, I'm Pacific time, and so you get Sunday night football finishes at 8:30, or the election coverage. Who won by 11 p.m. or whatever. Because I was on the East Coast, I went to bed at 7 p.m. on Tuesday night. Woke up to texts from my friends on both sides of the aisle, either happy or unhappy. And the more pertinent thing is, what has it done to mortgage markets?
Right.
We had this trade leading up to the election of, hey, it looks like there's going to be a red sweep. What's that mean? Well, likely higher tariffs, less regulation, but generally good for business conditions versus a Kamala administration or divided House and Senate. And so woke up, bond yields had gone way up. Holy smoke, which, like I said, is interesting because it had already been priced in to a degree beforehand. But
Right.
when Trump was declared the victor, it really shot things up. And then since then, just volatility in the market. There was a rally yesterday. And so people are trying to figure out what's going to happen. What's it mean? Coming from the capital market side of things, volatility is not your friend.
No.
What's it been like for you in the trenches over there?
Yeah. So, I spend most of my days when I'm not, spending 20 hours a week prepping for this amazing weekend show. I spend most of my days talking with originators, talking with people, in the field, on the street, the guys and gals that are facing off every day with consumers. And there's a lot of, again, set aside the politics of where you were going in and whether you quote unquote won or lost from an industry perspective, from a business perspective, the volatility has got people a little skittish again, right? I kind of characterized the vibe and the mood of our business, exiting September into October as feeling more optimistic.
Uh-huh.
And there was a lot of that happening. And we measure optimism by like the number of demos and presentations that we're getting asked to do for folks. And in the late September, early October, it was like on fire. We had a lot of stuff going on, and then it got a little quiet. Part of that the NBA, but I do think there's a little bit of a retrenching, if you will, as we enter the winter season of mortgage banking and housing. We're definitely feeling a little bit of a slowing momentum there.
And there's a lot of ramifications of that. Are we going to start seeing more M&A activity because people have thought, cool, rates are going to drop, I'm going to ride this high again, get this sugar rush. Well, if it's not going to come as quick, maybe I do want to cash out and sell my company. When it comes to what we're seeing for buyers and what they would like, what is the borrower psychology of, hey, rates are going back up again. Is it time for me to get off the sideline because now there's not this optimism about, hey, they're going to drop.
Right.
Even with the Fed cutting and the Fed kind of being committed to cutting, I still think that a 25 basis point rate cut is pretty dang near priced in for the December meeting.
Yeah.
To make 100 basis points of total easing. We're not going to see this refi wave materialize in the near term necessarily, but for originator, what is the thought? And it would be, dang, time to grind again.
Yes.
Wake up and really hit it if I want to get volume, because it's not like loans are going to be falling from the sky anytime soon. So I'm with you. Like I said, I wasn't at NBA annual, but the sentiment I got was August, September, there was all this optimism. Hey, it's good times around the corner. We're right there. We made it to survive until 25. We survived. Let's hit it. And now it's been this retrenching of, let me take another sharp look at my business practices and make sure that I'm okay with a low origination environment. Make sure that my efficiencies are dialed in and my costs that I can control, I'm controlling or switching things from fixed to variable costs, that sort of thing, and which could be healthy for the industry longer term, but it's no fun for us to be going through it this week.
No, and the cost statement is a good segue into another newsworthy item of the week. FICO Fair Isaac Corp announced a price increase, and on the surface, if you just are paying attention to the headline number and you're looking at it in the context of what the total cost to a consumer is for a mortgage, going from a $3.50 royalty to a $4.95 royalty probably doesn't move the needle from a consumer perspective. But oh my gosh, what an uproar it's resulted in within our industry with all of our colleagues who are kind of faced with not just the $1.50-ish increase there, but the downstream effects to that. What are the resellers that resell the credit score? How does this impact their pricing and all of that? And so, just curious for your opinion on what you're hearing.
I'll give you an uneducated opinion, and I want your more esteemed opinion afterwards. But we wrote about it in the commentary today, and it's, if you have a co-borrower, so it's, you call it $1.45 increase. Well, you have a co-borrower, cool. That's now about a $3 increase. Okay, there's multiple reporting agencies you pull it from. Now you're looking at up to $9 just for that. We'll say you pull credit at the beginning of the file and the end of the file. Now you're looking at almost $20 of difference. And to which FICO would say something like, well, we're providing these borrowers an opportunity to get equity and leverage their money and into a asset that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I don't know where I don't necessarily know how I feel about it. And that's probably not good for an opinion show, but I would think that it's not a lot of money, but it's obviously providing quite the uproar in the industry. And so it's just another cost, more cost. And, at what point does the straw break the camel's back? And there's no end in sight for just these incremental increases. That's my uneducated opinion. All right, time for the opinion.
Yeah, I don't know how much more educated my opinion is. It just, I'll share conversations that I'm having around the topic, and then if I'm having one, you could say there's 10 similar conversations probably happening elsewhere, and it's probably closer to 100 or 1,000. Well, first of all, if you're an originator and you're a consumer and you're ultimately facilitating a GSE loan, by mandate, you must have a FICO score associated with that loan, right? It's, as far as I know, in order to get into DU anyway, Fannie Mae's automated underwriting system, you must have a minimum 620 credit score to actually open the gate and get into the DU engine. So the FICO score is a requirement, and it is spelled out as a FICO score. It doesn't say a credit score that you could get from A, B, C, or D. It's a FICO score. So there's one product from one provider. So last I checked, that is a monopoly, I think. And so there's frustration clearly around, the fact that this single source of this product has made this decision to increase their price by X%, whatever that is. Again, headline $1.45, not a big deal, but to your example, Robbie, when you stack on co-borrowers and multiple runs and reruns, then it does add up at a single consumer level. Now spread that across hundreds or thousands of applicants that a lender is going to engage with, over time, and that becomes a substantial, expense for the lender, especially for loans that don't end up closing, because they tend not to collect that.
I wonder, and I've pushed you in recent weeks to talk about larger trends in the industry, and I wonder about this as moving us toward the trend of, hey, we're going to start putting some of these costs earlier in the origination process and passing them on to the consumer up front.
Yeah.
So the consumer knows exactly what they're getting beforehand versus dragging it out. And, oh, well, we spent $10 on this file and it didn't close. And that adds up across hundreds of files a month or whatever it might be. I wonder if this is just another step for the industry towards pulling a lot of these costs further forward in the origination process, bringing things further forward in the origination process, whether it's this or you're talking title or you're talking insurance in places where insurance is now making or breaking a deal in terms of how much is $1,500 a month for flood insurance in Florida, sort of thing. So I wonder if it creates any innovation in the process as a result of these incremental costs, because yes, they do add up on a large scale.
Yeah, I think the genie is so far out of the bottle where it's going to be very difficult to implement an application fee again that's actually collected up front to cover the hard costs that lenders have in analyzing a consumer's ability, their approvability, right? And so I think it's going to be really difficult to go back that way. And certainly some of the largest consumer direct lenders probably are not going to do that, because this is part of their competitive advantage is to be able to pump out these pre-approvals, and then they lean into that pre-approval as the hook into the consumer. What I what I do think is going to happen, and this is maybe will sound a little self-serving, but my logo's on the show. This could cover the the advertising part of FinLocker.
Yeah.
You know, our consumer experience is really a pre-application experience. It's an educate and engagement experience. And one of the things that we do provide the consumer in our technology up the funnel is the ability to connect to their credit score, and their credit profile. Now, our credit score is a Vantage score. It's not the FICO score, but it certainly is an indicator of where a consumer's, mortgage FICO would be. And one of the things that we're starting to see, Robbie, is some of our clients, most loan officers that are worth their salt in a 3-minute conversation with a consumer pretty much know whether they have a deal or not.
Mhm.
You can ask 3 questions and know if you have an approvable borrower, right? And so one of the things that we're starting to see is for those questions that aren't as affirmative, that maybe require a little more discovery, instead of spending, $5, $10, $15, or $20 for this, formal credit or FICO score, instead utilizing a tool like FinLocker with the consumer, it's, a tenth of the cost, if you will, if you look at it at the consumer level, to get an indication of whether or not somebody's, on the path towards approvability. So I think tools like ours, will become more prevalent up the funnel for kind of early engagement and early indication of someone's approvability.
Hey, look, we can plug our sponsors here. All right. Thank you very much to PRMG for sponsoring today's show. PRMG's, whether you're a potential home buyer, whether you're looking to become a correspondent or broker partner, or you want to join the retail team, prmg.net is a great place to go. And then FinLocker, for those of you that may not know, it's a financial fitness app that helps consumers increase credit score, save for down payment, and qualify for a mortgage. Both those things are good. I had actually heard recently, I think it was ADM, not to plug a third sponsor because they're not paying.
Yeah,
ADM,
love those
ADM
guys.
sponsored the show. It's great. Play on through. Go ahead, have a good time. ADM came out with this thing where they have artificial intelligence that allegedly they can listen to phone calls with borrowers and determine the likelihood of that loan closing. So they've gone back through, apparently, like with lenders they've implemented this with, they've gone back through hundreds of phone calls or call logs, and they've said these borrowers that you denied or these borrowers that didn't close, they're actually way more ready than you expected. So sure, I don't want to get into the whole debate of what AI is actually here versus touted as here and it's not, but some of this technology coming down the pike is really, really neat for, hey, we can start to close more borrowers that we thought we couldn't before, and maybe it helps make up for some of these costs that we're seeing that were viewed as lost costs previously.
Yeah, I think, if you think about the cost per loan, a big component of cost per loan is the cost of fallout, right? Because we have these fixed costs that touch every unit, whether or not they close, and yet we only realize revenue when we close loans. So we have to, apply all these costs across this entire pipeline, not just those that close. And so anything that the industry can do, anything that originators can do to improve their pull-through or their throughput is only going to improve that cost per loan metric.
Yes. I would say one other point, because you brought up FICO being a monopoly, and then we can tie it back into the election. We can talk politics a little bit. I don't think you're going to get much from this upcoming administration on, hey, there's a monopoly, let's bust it up. So no. I wouldn't look for FICO to go away as the sole provider anytime.
No, but we do know that Vantage score, I think it's the Vantage 4.0. We're in the 18-month cycle where Vantage 4.0 becomes an additional. Now this is interesting because the way it's been positioned is lenders will be required to deliver to agencies a loan with both FICO and Vantage 4.0, and I'm pretty sure Vantage 4.0 is not going to be free. So the cost to credit's only going to go up because of the requirement to add an additional scoring point. I think the tri-merge goes down to bi-merge, so you might save a little bit there. But net, we are getting closer to having a second scoring model that will be widely used in mortgage. And who knows, maybe, within the decade, it'll be, an either or type scenario. And frankly, there'll probably be a third type model that, gets created around this as well.
Yeah. I want to talk politics. All right. That's where I was trying to steer.
Let's go.
Have they finished counting Michigan yet?
Well, yes. Yeah,
yes.
I think we're done. I think we finally finished. All of our toes have been utilized to finish the count.
There you go. Because I was going to say, I'm technically a Nevada resident, and so it's like, hey, that's a swing state. Your vote matters. And I was looking at the electoral college map, and they'd called the election, and Nevada hadn't been counted, and Arizona hadn't been counted, and Michigan hadn't been counted. And I was like, so does our vote not matter? Like, it ultimately came down to 10,000 of the most indecisive Pennsylvanians deciding the fate of the world. Is that what we came away with here?
And the Badgers. I think it was the Badgers and the Quakers that made the decision.
Okay. There you go. Well, I guess at least we can all be happy when you turn on the Detroit Lions game this weekend. There won't be political ads. That's something that we can all be happy about, correct?
I will say this: Wednesday morning, I get up and do a little. I call it my old man workout. It's just me trying to stretch everything and being able to kind of move around the office here. But I'll have in the background, usually have on local news in the morning, and it was I was actually excited to see our the local, all the local lawyers show up again on my TV advertising. I hadn't heard from Mike Morse or the Bernsteins in a while, so it was really good to see those guys get back on screen.
Good. So let's transition it a little bit towards the Fed. Jerome Powell, during his press conference, was asked point blank, if Trump asked you to resign, he said, no, heck no. And so I wonder, and this pure speculation on my part, one way or another, of how politicized does Trump think he can make the Fed, or Bennett too as well, or who, is there this implicit, hey, if I bring you on as Fed chair, the next Fed chair, you better pick up the phone when I call and you need to do what I want. That's a very interesting thing to see how it progresses. And everything, I should say, not to give away too much bias here of mine, but I wonder how much of this is the media trying to hype people up for it's Armageddon versus what he will actually try and get away with.
Yeah, I mean, so let's stay on the Fed for a moment.
Sure.
Powell's term goes through what, first quarter of 2026 or something like that.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
So at least the first year and a half, almost 2 years of the president-elect's term will be we're going to have Jay Powell in that role, and we already know that we will not have Trump running for re-election because he won't be able to, right? So
I'm waiting for Trump versus Obama 2028 when he abolishes term limits. I'm very excited for that election, but a boy can dream. We'll see.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
One can only hope, or not.
I know. It'll be good.
So, I don't think it'll be different, whoever he decides to go with, in the second 2 years of his term. And then that chairman's going to, basically be inherited by the next administration. So I don't know how political that appointee can be. And frankly, how impactful will they be able to be at that point in the Trump administration? But if history is any indicator, we're in for a lot of exciting appointees and probably some interesting.
We are in for a lot of exciting appointees. I actually like what you said there, where it's on the Fed chairs on a completely different schedule, and the 12 Fed presidents rotate and their voting responsibilities rotate. Completely independent schedule of the elected offices. So that's good in a way for maintaining some of that neutrality. You've been through market cycles a lot longer than I have in this industry. Where do you come down on Fed Chair Powell as doing a good job versus fixing a mess of his own making with, hey, we cut rates to zero, flood the system with money. Cool. We just pulled 7 years of demand for houses into 2. Okay, well, now we're engineering the soft landing. We look like superstars. Wow, employment isn't tanking. Inflation has come down. We're doing good. And but it's all like his own, it's all contrived.
Yeah. we also had, in the midst of all this, a unprecedented global pandemic that impacted everything beyond belief. None of us had ever seen that. None of us had been through any of that type of cycle. So, part of me just is a little bit empathetic about, having to navigate, this pandemic, and then the economic impact that it brought, and how much of what the Fed has had to react to is from this unprecedented and hopefully never repeated pandemic. I don't know. Everyone's got their opinions. Does it suck that we're staring at a 7%, par rate, 7% handle par rate on a 30-year fixed? Yeah, but we never should have been at a 2.75, 3.25, 30-year par rate either.
Yep.
Reality is we probably would be healthy in a 5 handle kind of environment, and hopefully we find a way to get there.
So when it comes to borrower psychology, and I started the show by talking about this, hey, rates were coming down, there was this optimism. Now it's like not so fast, not so fast, my friend. Do you think borrower psychology is fully at the point of, if I want to buy a house, I might as well just bite the bullet now versus trying to play this rate? Are we there yet?
I don't think so. I would have told you, leaving September, coming into October, it felt like we were getting there. And that's because we had a 6 handle, kind of note rate, and not a 7. And in some cases, there's deals that are in the 8s based on all the loan level price adjusts. So I definitely know that the conversations that loan officers are having, there's a lot of people still just waiting it out, right? And the good loan officers know the scripting. They know how to talk to consumers and talk about the opportunity cost of waiting and not participating in property appreciation, yada yada yada. But the fact of the matter is, it's kind of difficult for the average consumer to put a vision on growing equity when they're staring at a housing payment that's make or break their budget.
I've been able to interview a couple top producing LOs in the last few weeks here, top 5 of Scotsman's Guide for 2023. It's amazing how confident you feel about yourself talking to them.
Yeah.
Right? And so, there's something and so I would almost say, not to go on a huge sales pitch here, but if volume stays low and you have time, pick up some of these. I don't know if they're doing coaching classes. I think Tim Brahim started like a whole coaching academy. Some of the scripts that these people have make you feel amazing. And I would think that, I say that to make the point that even if rates are high and you have borrowers on the fence, if you can be this trusted advisor and you feel like this confidant and you make them feel good, they're going to try to get into a home.
Yes.
There's a certain way of doing, the really good LOs are really good at making their borrowers feel like, yes, let's do this together. Now's the time, that sort of thing. So I think there's opportunity there for sure.
Yeah. When I talk to loan officers, I talk about, we all know what the game is. The game is won and lost by closing mortgages. That's how the whole industry works. We get that. But if you want to take it to the tactical level, this is a game of conversations. And he or she that's having the most conversations is going to win. And so, to your point, there is unbelievable resources out there for understanding the different types of talk tracks and conversations that are happening. Even if it's slow, even if you're not, your phone's not ringing off the hook with referrals, this is the opportunity to stack those conversations and go into 2025, with, instead of 10 loans in the pipeline, 100 conversations that are at some stage of likelihood that the first sign of life, all these conversations can be activated into real deals.
And that's probably a good place to end the show, bring it full circle, because what I said to start was, it's back to nose to the grindstone.
Yeah.
This loans are falling from the sky of a couple years ago. It's not come back. The people that are going to win are the ones that wake up and work the hardest, not work up and wake the hardest. Nose to the grindstone, get out there, start grinding. That's the best way you're going to see results.
So last plug. Oh, look, here we go. We got to bring in our guy here for the close. Hold on.
Oh, our guy.
Stay with me.
Hey.
There he is. Fresh from spin class, ready to rock and roll.
Sweaty. Look at that.
Rob, how are you, my friend?
Good, Brian. How are you doing?
Doing great. Doing great.
You guys seem to touch on a lot of the key topics, so I don't really have much to add other than my.
Well, we'll let you be the true last word then for the.
We're out of time. Go. What's your last word?
Well, Robbie, you summed it up. It's a job. It's not an adventure, and it's tough out there. It's not easy, and it's loan by loan by loan. So I see loan officers and lenders doing what they can for every borrower that they can, but there's certainly no magic bullets out there that'll gonna, make volume skyrocket or profits skyrocket. So it's a challenge, especially heading into the winter for folks for a big purchase pickup. It's tough.
Well, we're just going to keep fighting, and we're going to keep coming back here every Friday, sharing our thoughts, our opinions. Hopefully, every once in a while, a word of wisdom for folks. And for you two, you guys have a great rest of the Friday, great long weekend, and we'll see everybody else back here next Friday.
Brian, thanks for doing the show.
Right on. See y'all. Bye.